Okay, this is Robert McGinnis, and I want to thank you for calling in for Alabama Matters. And we've got something that we want to talk about today. Let me just pull it up here just a moment. To begin with, I'm Robert McGinnis. I'm running for the United States Senate from Alabama by write-in ballot. And I'm asking for your vote because my name is not on the ballot. And it is going to have to be up to the people of Alabama to write it in. I'm not running as a Republican. I'm not running as a Democrat. I'm running as somebody who wants to support and recognize that the people of Alabama is the boss. I think that's been lost on the Republican Party as well as the Democrat Party. Now, don't get me wrong. I do have the same values as the Republican Party does. I believe that the American people are the boss, though. I believe that they're the ones who should have the last say in the matter on anything. That means that I'm responsible. If elected, I will be responsible to the American people, especially to the people of Alabama who elected me to represent them. I believe that that's lost these days. And I'm asking for your vote. I'm asking you to spread the word. And it'd be my job as a senator to keep you informed about what's going on in the state of Alabama so that they don't take advantage of you. And that's what they do. And that's one of the things that we're going to talk about here in just a little bit. For instance, I just come across some of the things that's going to be on the ballot this coming November. So I've made a few notes that I want to say to you. I say Alabama needs a representative in the U.S. Senate who knows how to recognize and expose a domestic threat and have the integrity and ability to do something to stop it. Not a person whose only ability is to make up more empty promises to protect Alabama families, and the most qualified person Alabama could ever choose to get the job done is me. I am Alabama's most qualified for the U.S. Senate by write-in ballot, but it won't happen without your word of mouth. Senators also have the responsibility to keep the public informed of what their elected officials are up to behind voters' backs. An example of this is on the ballot in Alabama in November 22. Ad valorem tax is a property tax. It's ADVALOREM tax. It is a property tax, not a use tax, and follows the property tax from owner to owner. Therefore, unlike any registration fees, taxes accumulate even when a vehicle is not used on the highway. You know what that means? It means that if you have a car that's broke down, you have a vehicle that's broke down, and you don't get a tag for it. When you go get a tag for it, you're going to pay for every year that it was broke down, even though you wasn't using it. Even though it was sitting in your yard, you're going to pay a tag. You're going to pay for it. You're going to pay for a tag. All those years that you didn't have a tag on it, you're going to buy it. And if you buy a vehicle that's been sitting on a car lot somewhere, you're going to pay for it. You're going to pay a tax, not a tax, but you're going to pay a tag for all the years that it didn't have a tag on it. This is what they're wanting you to do. Those days of saying, well, it was sitting up in the yard, so therefore no, those days are gone if you approve this. They're not telling you that. That's one of the things that you need to understand. Taxes will be paid even on the broke down vehicle you own and haven't driven in over a year and is parked in your driveway. I'll vote no. This is a no-brainer. Why should I pay a property tax for the privilege of owning a vehicle I can or don't use? I'm sure you feel the same way. Another thing that's on the ballot is Aniah's Law. ANIAH. Aniah's Law. What this does is it gives a judge the authority to deny bond based on the level of severity of criminal charges that a person faces or charged with. And he can also deny it on concerns of public safety if he's got a suspicion that this person has will commit a crime if he's out on bond. This is one that I kind of agree with. The original purpose for bail bonds was to ensure a defendant's appearance in court. And this law amends the Alabama state constitution and gives judges the discretion to deny bond out of a legitimate concern for public safety. If the judge is convinced that there is high probability that a future unrelated crime will be committed by the same person currently charged with and accused of a violent crime. This actually happened, and that was the person's name, Anaya. She was kidnapped and murdered when this one person that was facing criminal charges was allowed bond. He was out on bond and he went and killed her. And so the judge didn't have any discretion on whether that he could deny bond, but now this right here will give them the discretion. For the sake of public safety, I think it's a good thing. Some people will say, well, what about due process? I kind of lean towards the people's right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and that a judge's responsibility is part of law enforcement, and that a judge should have the discretion to use if he thinks this person's going to commit a crime again. He has a responsibility to protect the public out of safety concerns. I think he should have that responsibility. I think that he should have that authority. I'm going to vote yes on it, and I'm hoping that you will too. Another thing that's going to be on the ballot this come November is to require legislation affecting elections to be passed at least 6 months prior to the general election. I have a problem with that. To require legislation affecting elections that are affecting elections to be passed at least 6 months, that means that anything within the 6 month range can't be undone. They could go in there and pass legislation that you don't approve of, and it's too bad. Too bad. Once you find out, and once it's done, 6 months, sorry. No, we need to leave things like they are. I mean, they could pass legislation and you couldn't even put it in court. Can you imagine? But think about it. Let's go to an extreme on this for just a minute. Imagine if they were to go in and pass legislation that black people couldn't vote in the next election. Wouldn't you have a cow? But according to that right there, you wouldn't be able to do anything about it. No. What if they come in there and said, no, they pick and choose? All right, let's take it off of race for just a minute. What if they went in there and said, you know what, for this election's sake, we're going to say nobody under the age of 22 can vote? What if they came in and says nobody over the age of 60 can vote? And outside of 6 months, you couldn't do anything about it. You couldn't even put it in court. No, this has got too many variables. That's bad. That's a big hard pass on my part. No. What else did I write down here? Oh yeah. It says Alabama get this. They want to Alabama Broadband Infrastructure Funding Amendment 2022. This is what it's called, Alabama Broadband Internet Infrastructure Funding Amendment 2022. I'm going to vote no on that. I'm going to tell you why. This amendment states the Constitution wants to amend the Alabama State Constitution to allow the government to use funding provided for broadband internet structure under the American Rescue Plan Act, the ARPA, a federal COVID-19 Relief Funding Act, and award such funds to public or private entities. Private entities, They want to take money that was allocated by the federal government that's supposed to improve our lives to relieve the hardship. People can't find baby formula, and we're just going to get to that here in a minute. They want us to give the permission to use that money to do whatever they want to with. Alabama Broadband Internet Infrastructure Funding Amendment 2022. I will vote no. Money that was allocated by the federal government to benefit us. They want us to give that money to them so that they can give it to whoever they want to give it to and use it for whatever they want to use it for. No. How arrogant. How arrogant. Now get this. On the ballot in November 2022, it is to delete probate judges, well, not judges. It says to delete probate court's general jurisdiction over orphans' business. Let me say it again. To delete probate court's general jurisdiction over orphans' business. I had to look that one up. As of right now, county probate courts have jurisdiction over everything that's got to do with orphans, adoptions, child support, all that. But Alabama wants the jurisdiction, they want the authority to control orphans' business, which is orphanages. Orphanages. Federally funded orphanages that is controlled by the county. They want to take it away from the county level and they want to put it on the state level. Get this, state-run for-profit orphanages could result in child services forcing poor children into orphanages for the sake of the almighty dollar. Ultimately, this measure is more about the state using poor children as a means to generate state revenue than children's welfare. That's what this is about. Generating revenue at the state level, and they want to do it through controlling orphanages. They want to take it out of the county control and put it at the state, at the state level, so that they can get the federal money that goes with it. Oh, what could go wrong, right? I actually looked up an article online. It says this article is at 4-profit orphanages eligible for federal funds. Change in law raises questions about care and who should provide it. By New York Times News Service, Baltimore Sunday, written May 3rd, 1997 at 12 a.m. For-profit orphanages eligible for federal funds. Change in law raises questions about care about who should provide it. That's the question. That's the question that's on the ballot this coming November. Right now it's in the county level. Right now the county oversees all this. And now the state of Alabama is wanting you to say, hey, well, you know what? I'll give up all that. I'll give up my say in the matter. We'll let you handle that at the state level. Yeah. We know how that turned out. We always know how it turns out. It was a few years back when Alabama convinced these people, if I remember correctly, that it was a college fund. Parents had gotten together and had gotten a college fund. Alabama convinced them to let them oversee it. And it wasn't too long later, the money came up missing. Yeah, that's Alabama for you. Always wanting to do revenue. So what is it there? What's on the ballot? Well, let's look at it again for just a moment. Okay? Let's look at it for just a minute. It's all about revenue with Alabama. They don't care how they get it. They don't care how they get it. I want to keep on with this for just a minute. But right now, First of all, they want to tax your car. They've already got property tax on your house. If you don't live, you can at least you can homestead that if you're living in it. But if you're not living in your house, you got a property tax on it. Now they want to do your car that way. Of course, you don't live in your car. Even if it's broke down, now they want to make you pay for a tag whether you're driving it or not. Really? Really? I understand that Alabama's got one of the highest property taxes in the United States, and now they want to tax you for just to have a car? Me too? No. Now, as law, I agree with that. Because it's the only thing that's proactive. It deals with life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It gives the judge the discretion to say, hey, you know what? If I let this guy out on bond, he just might commit another crime. He looks like he might. He's got a record for it. Yeah, a judge ought to have the discretion whether to let him out on bond or not in such cases. Even if the original purpose for bail bonds was to ensure a defendant's appearance in court, now the judge can use it to say, hey, you know what? This guy right here is not only a flight risk, he's a public safety risk. I should have the ability to decide whether to let him out on bond or I agree. I hope you agree too. But to require legislation affecting elections to be passed at least 6 months prior to the general election, once the legislation went through, there's nothing that could be done about it? Oh, no. They need to come up with a different way. If they're trying to protect the general election, they need to come up with a different way. They need to at least include something that they could say, hey, we can overturn this if it violates someone's civil rights. But they didn't say that. They left it open-ended. You can believe that's a hard pass on me. I agree with the liberal Democrats on this one. The Republican Party has a supermajority in the Alabama state legislature, so why is it necessary? Voting yes means any legislative changes to the general election conduct that was made 6 months prior to the general election is cemented, permanent, and cannot be undone. No. At least somebody can complain about it if something's wrong. This right here makes it a permanent fix that you can't undo it. Man. Then, of all the gall, Alabama Broadband Internet Infrastructure Funding Amendment 2022. The amendment wants to amend the state constitution to allow governments to use funding provided for the broadband internet infrastructure. Oh! Really? Under the American Rescue Plan Act. They want to take that money and repurpose it. Never mind, did you know that fiber optics is glass? It breaks. Glass breaks. Who's going to fix it if they spend that money on something else? Then they want to use the federal COVID-19 Relief Funding Act money. We're already having a hard enough time trying to find formula for the babies. I want to get to that again. The hardship that we're going through right now is because of the Democrat Liberal Party who has imposed it. That's why they're going to be kicked out of office this come November. I want to be one of the people you replace them with. Because when it comes right down to it, there is no party affiliation once a person is elected to office. Because that person is a public servant, is supposed to be representing everybody in the state, regardless of their party affiliation. I'm telling you, that's what I'm going to do. I'm hoping that my convictions align with yours. because I believe that Christ Jesus is the Son of God. I am a Christian. I believe, just like our forefathers did, that we are all created in God's image. Created in His image. Equal in His image. See, God is colorblind. He truly is colorblind. He doesn't see black, white, male, female, all that. No, He sees people who needs His Son. Now, that being said, my convictions, I have to check them at the door. That's why I'm hoping that my convictions align with yours and yours aligns with me. Because if I can't represent those convictions, I have to resign. I'm not going to be like some others just wanting to keep a job. I want to represent those who elected me, and I'm hoping that those convictions are the same so that I can do that. And it's not Republican, it's not Democrat, it's not white, it's not black, it's not male, it's not female. It's about you being a U.S. citizen in the state of Alabama and you having somebody that's going to represent you for once in a lifetime. And look out on you. That's what I'm talking about with telling you about what's on the ballot. Has anybody that's running for office said anything about saying that you're the boss? Have they? No. Not now and not in the past have they ever said that. No, they want you to make them the boss. When they're actually a public servant that's supposed to be looking out on you, and that means looking out on you on what's going on in your own backyard. So that you can get on with your business, you can get on with your life, and you can have a good life living the pursuit of happiness. That's what elected officials are supposed to be doing. I want to be one of them. I can't do it without your help. I can't do it without word of mouth. I don't have the money to go print up thousands and thousands of dollars worth of campaign signs or advertisement on television or radio. I do have blipboards around the state, but it doesn't tell you who I am. It doesn't tell you what I represent. You're the only one that can do it. You're the only one that's going to give me the opportunity or the privilege of representing you on Capitol Hill. I found this article. It could raise the concern that only nonprofits could get money at one time. Only nonprofits could get federal money for the support of the poorest children. Those qualified for aid to families with dependent children in their own homes. They're the only ones that can get it, but they removed that. They removed that. And they said now for-profits can do it. The unlimited pool of child welfare money known as the AFDC foster care has become increasingly important to states coping with big cuts in other programs. And with the end of the AFDC, under the law, parents come from the welfare rolls who do not find work or cannot earn enough could lose their children. I had a niece that went to court one time because one of the child's grandparents wanted custody simply because she was rich. And of all things, what I hear, I didn't hear it. Someone told me the judge said, well, you know what, ma'am? Because of your money, I would give you her. I think she would be best with you because you're rich. But her mother hasn't done anything wrong. Really? If he could justify it, he would give this child to his grandmother simply because the mother was poor? With Alabama taking control of the orphanages and taking control out of the county, that's exactly what will happen. No longer will it be about how the child feels. No more about what's best for them. No. It'll be discrimination against the poor. Taking children out of their households for the sake of increasing state revenue. Unbelievable. See, but I can't get that out. I can't get that message out because I don't have the opportunity. I don't have the means. You can. And as far as baby formula goes, I was talking about that before. Let me read something to you. I started late, so I'm going to end late. Let me read this article. FDA warns consumers not to use select Abbott baby formula after risk of contamination. 4 babies have fallen ill so far, prompting a product recall. This article is by Ariel Weg, February 18th, 2022. I want to make sure she gets credit for it. According to the release, Abbott performs routine testings in their facilities for pathogens like Coronabacteria, Zika. During a recent check, Coronabacteria Zika was found in Michigan plant in non-product contact areas. Non-product contact areas. But they did not find evidence of salmonella. Now let me give you something. Baby formula producers voluntarily pulled product from the store shelves after becoming aware that a few infants had become ill. Some say that 2 died. The producers of the baby formula later determined the formula was not at fault. Was not at fault. They voluntarily pulled this formula from the shelves. They found out that it was not at fault. Let me ask you something. Where did all that formula go that they had pulled from the shelves? Where did it go? You know where it went. According to the Wall Street Journal, by April 24th of 2022, 40% of the most popular brands were out of stock. That is now being blamed on a mix of supply chain issues. And the voluntary recall created a public panic, creating supply and demand issues. No. So what happened to the formula product that was voluntarily removed from the store shelves? You know where it went. As a former fraud investigator, I believe the baby formula. I originally believed this. I thought like this, and I was pretty well close. I believe the baby formula producers was purposely pulled from the stocks and destroyed, is what I thought, to create a national shortage, resulting in a public panic and creating a supply and demand issue, disguising this self-induced price gouging. But as it turns out, it appears that what happened is the U.S. government bought up all the baby formula because of pallets and pallets of baby formula being stored up at the border to give families that are entering the country illegally and force American families to go without. Yeah. That's what happened. But in addition to that, they probably bought up so much that they had to pull the shelves, and the rest of it is on back order, backlogged. And that there's going to be a shortage until that backlog is supplied, forcing America to import baby formula. This is the America that we need to get rid of in November of 2022. You don't believe I'm going to be... Woo! Am I angry? I will be looking out on you. I will be looking over the shoulders of the greedy in this country that puts their dollar, almighty dollar, more important than the people they're selling it to, the products. So let me ask you something. Katie Britt, Mike Durant, Mo Brooks, and others think that they can protect Alabama families. They don't even have a clue as to where to begin. I'm telling all Alabama residents, not only do I know where to begin, I know how to fix it. And I know how to stop it from happening again. And I'll do it. I'll start by keeping the residents of Alabama informed about what's going on in their own states. Or what they got on the ballot, what they're wanting them to do. Then I'll introduce legislation to make it a federal crime for greedy business owners to voluntarily or involuntarily cause such a crisis that it results in anxiety and fear on a national level, and work with senators and House representatives to create an American economy that is once again self-sustaining, like before World War II, independent of outside global economic influence. And that means America must once again become energy independent, because everything runs off of oil. And I don't care how much these green leaf thumping left liberals don't like it. That's the way it is. They need to grow up and get with the program. Because if you'll elect me to the U.S. Senate, at least you'll have the confidence that there's at least one person who not only cares about you, but there's at least one person who's willing to put their job on the line to watch your back. I'm going to calm down now. And I just want to thank you for listening to Alabama Matters, but I'm going to tell you something. It's not going to matter. Nothing I say here is not going to matter. It's not. If you don't at least share this with somebody and tell them that if they live in Alabama and they're able to vote, write my name in. I didn't have to put my name out there. Write my name. You can even initial the first two, RD. You can initial it, RD. My name's Robert D. Robert Dwayne. You can initial it, RD. That ought to be easy enough to remember. MCGINNIS. You can write it in. That's what the Secretary of State said back in 2016. Said you can write it in. For the U.S. Senate, you can fill in that oval off to the next to it. And if you'll do that, you'll send somebody to the U.S. Senate that's got your back. And a person who doesn't care who they make mad in watching your back. Because that's my job. If you make it my job. Hopefully, I will be able to get out in the public. Like I said, I am limited. I'm a one-time man. This is a one-man band. Without your help, it is a one-man band. But God's able to do all things. I put my name out there so that you would have another choice. You would have a third choice. Because right now, it's going to be a Republican choice. It's going to be a Democrat choice. And it's going to be me, a third choice. That's it. So until I get to talk again, I'm hoping that you'll get this message, and I'll talk again next Saturday at 2:30 if I'm alive, able, and all. And God bless. And God protect America.